love and work. Work and love, that's all there is. Just as a cautious businessman avoids investing all his capital in one concern, so wisdom would probably admonish us also not to anticipate all our happiness from one quarter alone. The goal of all life is death. We believe that civilization has been created under the pressure of the exigencies of life at the cost of satisfaction of the instincts. Being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. The psychical, whatever its nature may be, is itself unconscious. The liberty of the individual is no gift of civilization. It was greatest before there was any civilization. Most people do not really want freedom, because freedom involves responsibility, and most people are frightened of responsibility. A certain degree of neurosis is of inestimable value as a drive, especially to a psychologist. Analysis does not set out to make pathological reactions impossible, but to give the patient's ego freedom to decide one way or another. Incidentally, why was it that none of all the pious ever discovered psychoanalysis? Why did it have to wait for a completely godless Jew? A belligerent state permits itself every such misdeed, every such act of violence, as would disgrace the individual. Obviously one must hold oneself responsible for the evil impulses of one's dreams. In what other way can one deal with them? Unless the content of the dream rightly understood is inspired by alien spirits, it is part of my own being. The great question that has never been answered, and which I have not yet been able to answer, despite my 30 years of research into the feminine soul, is what does a woman want? If youth knew, if age could. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for a father's protection. The mind is like an iceberg, it floats with 1/7 of its bulk above water. He that has eyes to see and ears to hear may convince himself that no mortal can keep a secret. If his lips are silent, he chatters with his fingertips. Betrayal oozes out of him at every pore. The ego is not master in its own house. love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness. The interpretation of dreams is the royal road to a knowledge of the unconscious activities of the mind. I have found little that is good about human beings on the whole. In my experience, most of them are trash, no matter whether they publicly subscribe to this or that ethical doctrine or to none at all. That is something that you cannot say aloud, or perhaps even think. The first human who hurled an insult instead of a stone was the founder of civilization. If a man has been his mother's undisputed darling, he retains throughout life the triumphant feeling, the confidence in success, which not seldom brings actual success along with it. Whoever loves becomes humble. Those who love have, so to speak, pawned a part of their narcissism. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. One is very crazy when in love. Every normal person, in fact, is only normal on the average. His ego approximates to that of the psychotic in some part or other and to a greater or lesser extent. Dreams are often most profound when they seem the most crazy. Opposition is not necessarily enmity, it is merely misused and made an occasion for enmity. The doctor should be opaque to his patients and, like a mirror, should show them nothing but what is shown to him. The act of birth is the first experience of anxiety, and thus the source and prototype of the effect of anxiety. Civilized society is perpetually menaced with disintegration through this primary hostility of men towards one another. A man who has been the indisputable favorite of his mother keeps for life the feeling of a conqueror. Like the physical, the psychical is not necessarily in reality what it appears to us to be.